Okay, so here we go. My first video. What am I here to talk about? Well, I'm a patriot. I'm patriotic AF, right? And I don't like what's going on in my country right now. Not particularly happy with the job that Donald Trump is doing. And I voted for him. Not particularly happy to see what's going on right now in this country with regards to the Second Amendment. And quite frankly, I don't see a lot of the media, or as people like to call it, the right-wing media. I don't see a lot of them even talking about it. I don't see Fox News talking very much about what's going on in, say, for instance, Deer Park, Illinois. There's some weird things going on in our country right now when it comes to the Second Amendment and assault weapons bans or high capacity magazine bans. They even police went door to door in Seattle recently and took guns from people. Apparently, these people, they must have been on some sort of database regarding their mental health. And they even claim in the article that I read that after the cops took their guns, that they were thankful. Thank you for taking my guns. Now, these are obviously people who have, I would like to think, who had severe mental illness. And I'm not saying that in that particular case that it was necessarily the wrong thing to do. But that it's unprecedented, that's for sure. And these things need to be done carefully and properly. How do you decide who is mentally ill and who is not? Who decides that? I mean, we all know who decides that. In the end, maybe at first it's done right, but as time goes by, the person who will make the decision who is mentally ill and who is not, and therefore should be allowed to own a gun, that person is going to be the last person you want to be making that decision. That's who that person will be. So let's talk about Donald Trump and the Syrian war or military operation. Look, I don't like what is going on over there. I don't like what Assad is doing to these people. I do believe that he's using chemical weapons. There are atrocities committed on children and women. And it's horrible. And it's against some sort of rules, the UN war rules. I don't know. You can't use chemical weapons. Well, the thing is, there's a lot of violations going on in the world regarding those rules. There's a lot of atrocities taking place in the world right now, all over the place. North Korea. He's the leader, Kim Jong-un, is starving his people to death. Africa. They're taking back farms from the white people, killing, raping, torturing the families of the farm owners, boiling them in hot water, apparently. It's happening right now. And this has got to be a violation of what you can do in times of war. Boiling people alive? Yeah, I think that goes right up there with chlorine as a chemical weapon. There are other violations going on in the world. Our neighbors to the north. Their free speech laws are non-existent, and now they have compelled speech. And they also have very, very strict gun laws, depending on the specific area. This is a violation of human rights. It's even established by the UN that there are certain rights that every country, if you want to be recognized as part of the UN, that you have to give your people certain rights. Like, for instance, freedom of speech. Here's the problem, though. Show me a country with freedom of speech laws, and almost every country has them, but then they also have hate speech laws. Well, how do you have freedom of speech, but you also have hate speech? And how do you define hate speech? It's not definable. And again, who's going to define it? The last person you want to define it. That's who's going to define it. If you have hate speech laws, you do not have freedom of speech. America is the only country with freedom of speech currently. And therefore, every country in the world is violating their citizens' rights. Not a violation on the scale of using chemical weapons, but there are plenty of horrible things taking place in this world that are inhumane, and that are killing people, torturing people all over the world. What's my point? My point is, why Syria? Why exactly Syria? We're sending a message. That's what Trump says. We're sending a message. You cannot use chemical weapons. What? We can boil people alive? That's allowed? Kill, rape children? That's allowed? All of these other things, all atrocities are taking place all over the world all the time. That's allowed? No, that's not allowed. None of that's allowed. Why Syria? Why Syria? Why are we wasting, is it billions? Billions of dollars on Tomahawk missiles? Why are we there? Why are we there? How many miles, how many bricks have been laid for the wall? I voted for Trump. When he said, I'm going to build a wall, that was it. You had my vote. There was a lot of other things he said he would do. Put in good justices. Conceal carry reciprocity. That's a big one. I'm still waiting for something. Waiting for someone to start talking about what's going on with gun bans in the United States and our Second Amendment right. But the main reason I voted for Trump, is the wall. The wall is responsible for so many horrible things that are taking place in America. It's a domino effect. And I don't know who decided and when it was decided that we would ignore illegal immigrants sneaking over the border, bringing drugs. We would ignore that. We would wait for the drugs to get into our inner cities, and then we would use the police to try and deal with the drugs at that point, right? The war on drugs. Why wasn't the war on drugs fought at the border? Why not stop it from getting into our inner cities? I mean, this has affected more than anyone else African Americans in our country. Why did we allow that to happen? Why is that happening? Why didn't we just stop it at the border? The drugs don't come in. The drugs don't wind up in our inner cities. African Americans who are addicted to the welfare system, thanks to the Democrats, they don't see any other way to become rich, which is what any young male is really looking to do. What chances can I take? How can I invest in myself and in my life to become rich? Now, that may not happen, and that's why you got to have a plan B in life, but that's what we all do when we're young. Young, high testosterone, alpha men, trying to find out how to get rich and live the American dream, and we should be. Well, if your only opportunity is drugs, and they're all over your neighborhood, that's where you're going to go. If that's the only opportunity you see, that's the opportunity you're going to go for. That's the risk you're going to take. If it means you have to go to jail from time to time, fine. You don't have a problem with that. Because maybe, just maybe, you'll become rich and you can save yourself and you can save your family. Drugs should have never been let into our country in the first place. It's a waste of taxpayer money to police the inner cities and all of the people who are now involved in drugs, who are involved in crime, illegals in our sanctuary cities. We got to pay for that. It's just an endless dumping of money into this problem, where it would have been, that money would have been better served at the border. At the border. The drugs wouldn't have came in. There would have been less drugs in our inner cities, less crime. People would open up businesses. Hey, the kids might say, I'll get a job at this dollar store, whatever, and maybe I'll work my way up. Maybe I'll eventually become the owner of this store. Manager, owner, eventually have my own dollar store. There'd be an option. If you don't give people options, well, they'll take whatever option's available for success. So Trump, why are we in Syria? Why are we wasting that money when it would be better served at our border? How many bricks have been laid? Not one. How long has Trump been president now? Really long. Not a single brick has been laid. Not a single brick. And we're wasting billions of dollars bombing the hell out of a country who is committing atrocities on its people, while countless other countries are also committing atrocities on their people. Mexico is committing atrocities on their people. They're committing atrocities on our people. And we're spending billions of dollars, what, to make a point? Fine, whatever. Waste more of my money on something I don't agree with. I don't agree with abortion. I got to pay for that with my tax money. And now I have to pay, apparently, to bomb Syria and Assad. And maybe we'll do some good over there. Sure, absolutely. But that's not what the media is going to focus on. The media is going to focus on the one piece of shrapnel that goes off course and hits some poor pregnant lady in the head. And now America's a bunch of murderers. Now the family of that poor pregnant lady who got hit in the head with a piece of American shrapnel, now they're going to become anti-American, rightfully so. Maybe they're going to start some new version of ISIS. Something like ISIS. Why are we over there? What are we doing? There's President Trump. You could get on your Twitter and say, we tried, but I'm washing my hands of Syria. As a matter of fact, I'm washing my hands of all these countries. I'm going to just focus on, well, I don't know what you said you were going to focus on. I watched every single speech you gave. You said you would be the president of America. Not the president of Syria. Not the president of Africa. Not the president of Russia, of the world. Not the president of the world. You said you would be the president of America. And you would protect America. How is sending our people over to Syria, how is that protecting Americans? Not one single American would die in this military operation if we didn't take that American, give him a plane ticket, put him on a plane, spend all that money in airplane fuel, fly him over there, land that plane at some base where we probably had to pay some of our allies to use their airport, and then send that soldier to die, potentially. Not one life would be lost because they can't hurt us. Syrian Assad can't hurt us. He doesn't have nuclear weapons. He's not going to be able to send chemical weapons our way. He can't hurt us. Are you the president of Syria or are you the president of the United States? Because if you're the president of Syria, well, I don't know what planet I'm on, but if you're the president of the United States, can you start worrying about what we're worried about, what the people who voted for you are worried about, what the 60% of the American taxpayers slash people who voted for you are worried about. And we're too busy going to work 40, 50 plus hours a week to deal with it. That's why I'm making this video. I need to do something, right? What can I do? They're not at my door right now saying, give me your gun. Thank God. I could go, there was a march in Harrisburg recently. I was there. I can go, I can do that. There are some things I can do. I can make some videos. I don't know. Who's listening to this video? Who's going to watch these videos? Nobody? Somebody? I don't know. But I can make these videos. I guess now I'm an activist, right? I'm a Second Amendment activist. I'm a pro-American activist. How did I become an activist? I do not know. Most people who say they're activists, it basically means you're unemployed. If you're an activist, you're unemployed. Well, I'm an employed activist. It's a sad state of affairs, and it's a sad sign of what may be coming around the corner when the working class, the tax-paying class, has to really start getting involved in politics. I can tell you right now, when the tax-paying class in America, the people who fund America, the people who, without us, there would be no America. There would be no Second Amendment. There would be no freedom of speech, freedom of privacy, freedom of the press. None of it would exist if it wasn't for me getting up, going to work, paying my taxes. None of it would exist. And let's say we went over to Syria. We got Assad out of there. He's gone. Then we show the people democracy. Here, make your own government. I guarantee you, less than 5 years, some genius in Syria would come up with the idea, I have an idea. Let's be a socialist country. And they would be right back to where they are now. They do not share our ideals. If they shared our ideals, the Syrian people would not be in the position that they are in now. I would rather die than have Assad take over America. I will take up arms and I will fight. And I will die, hopefully, in a pile of brass. The Syrian people would not do this. A lot of people in a lot of different countries would not make that sacrifice. They're not made of what we're made of. We're different. That's why America's different. The American experiment, which I would say has been largely successful. This is America. Stop trying to take away the Second Amendment. As far as I'm concerned, can we start? If you want to make a change to the Constitution, I have an idea. Let's make a change. Let's take that Second Amendment. Let's call it the First Amendment, because really, without the Second Amendment, there are no other amendments. Once your freedom to bear arms is gone, to protect yourself, and then they come after freedom of speech. Now, freedom of privacy, they've already gone after that, in large part. I want to be optimistic. I say things can't get better until they get worse. Things are pretty bad right now, and it looks like they could get much worse. I live in Philadelphia. I plan on getting my concealed carry permit within the next 30 days. Then I'll probably make a video updating some concerns I have about that. I don't think I'll have any trouble getting the permit, but I do think that they'll be violating some of my rights to privacy in the application, despite the NRA and a class action lawsuit that they won a few years back. But we'll deal with that video when the time comes. I'm concerned about New Jersey. You can't You can't get a concealed carry permit in New Jersey. It's impossible. And I travel there constantly to visit my brother and his family. And I can't bring my gun there. That's why I voted for Trump. Like, can we work on that? Concealed carry reciprocity? Can my permit in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania, can I use that all over the country? Why not? Why not? Trump, you need to start working on our country. I'd like to call you President Trump, but I'm not sure what country you're the president of anymore. I thought you were the president of America, but now apparently you're the president of the world. And I don't recognize the president of the world because I didn't vote for the president of the world. I voted for the president of the United States of America. And when you start focusing your attention on America, I'll start calling you the president again. It's disappointing. It's disappointing. There's a lot of bad things going on in the world right now. There's a lot of bad things going on right here in my city. This new DA, I don't know what he's thinking. And again, I'm optimistic. I'm actually optimistic because what he's done is so horrible. It's got to have a backlash. I mean, all mandatory minimum sentences gone. There are no more mandatory minimum sentences. You know why we have mandatory minimum sentences? I can't speak for other cities, but in Philadelphia, because the judges were friends and or family members of the alleged criminals, and they were letting them off. Letting them off easy or just letting them off. So we had to instate mandatory minimum sentences. So that way the judge only had could only make one of two choices, either guilty or not guilty. And once you decide guilty, that's it. The mandatory minimum sentence, that's what they would receive. Now that's gone. Prostitution has essentially been legalized. I'm not sure how that's going to play out. They're going to start making it so you can just shoot up heroin legally all over the city. And my tax dollars are going to go towards that. I don't agree with that. I've already seen crime on my block pick up. If you commit a non-violent felony or misdemeanor, or you steal, or the damages are less than $500.